know that since the 1990s, incidences of violent crime have gone down across America.
Governor Moore claims the media is ramping up crime concerns, the message being met with mixed reaction this morning. But first, 3 women arrested for protesting at a BGE work, now taking legal action of their own. Why they say the company needs to be held in check, and the response from city leaders.
Finally seeing the sunshine this morning, and that is a welcome sight, but we do have to get through some more showers and storms. We'll break it down for you coming up.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you. Oh my goodness, do you see the sun? I feel like this is the first time in forever. Thanks for being with us this Sunday, June 25th. I'm Taylor Stewart. I'm actually really excited to get to your forecast. Meteorologist Justin Chambers here this morning. Yeah. Did you bring the sun with you?
I did, absolutely. You know, and it was interesting yesterday afternoon. I mean, it did finally break out. It warmed up. It was nice to kind of dry out, and we're keeping that trend going as we get into your Sunday morning. So, yeah, very pretty picture out over the Inner Harbor right now with plenty of sunshine, some mist and some fog. Not mist, but there's some foggy spots right now just with all of that moisture that we had. So we're finally drying things out. We will be warmer as we head toward the afternoon, and then we're tracking another round of storms. Possible pop-up storms today, but really a better chance for storms coming in for tomorrow. So out and about on your morning run, maybe if you're going to be getting out before you head to church or brunch this morning, mid to upper 70s here on your jogging cast. We're going to top out in the upper 80s and even some lower 90s on the way later this afternoon. So just be aware of that, and that warm air or that hot air is going to be here as well. We'll take a closer look at the full forecast coming up in just a few.
Making headlines this morning, we begin with the 3 women arrested for protesting BGE utility work earlier this week. Well, now they're fighting back.
It is possible to go up against what I feel is a predatory company.
People all over Baltimore are outraged.
It disgusts me. We deserve better.
Their attorney says a class action lawsuit has been filed against BGE, demanding the installation of outside gas regulators be brought to a halt. Rebecca Pryor spoke to the women and dozens of other Baltimore City residents about their frustrations.
Excuse me, I need you to back up.
For Claudia Towles, Magdalena Fitzsimmons, and Sandra Seward. After an overnight stay in Central Booking, the handcuffs are now off.
It wasn't pleasant, but I have to tell you, I'm glad I did it, and I would do it again.
You're going that way.
But with dozens of community members at their back, they say their battle with Baltimore Gas and Electric has just begun.
And they're using their influence to bully and to just go through neighborhoods and completely dismiss our rights. And that is not okay.
A lawsuit has been filed.
Attorney Thurua Vignarajah says a class action lawsuit has been filed on behalf of 14 Baltimore City residents, plus 121 others and counting who plan to join in the coming days.
People all over Baltimore are outraged.
They're seeking an immediate injunction to prevent BGE from installing these external gas regulators and from shutting off gas to homes who refuse the utility work, like Donna Sylvester's, the site of the protest.
Thursday, I was not even home.
Sylvester claiming BGE only gave her hours notice before cutting her service, despite Maryland law requiring at least a 14-day warning period.
It just feels completely unfair and bullying.
The BGE claims proper notice was given, sending a statement to Fox 45 that reads in part, quote, "Our desired approach is to avoid service interruptions, but in some situations it is necessary to maintain the integrity of our systems." The utility company going on to insist placing regulators outside the home is safer, to which residents question, so what's the rush?
If they're so confident in their position, they should be able to put this off like a couple of days and allow the court to decide whether they're right or whether we're right.
BGE and the city is trying to scare people off and push them to do something that we don't have any data for.
They're in it for the profit. They're not in it for the interests of the public.
It remains unclear who's footing the bill for the fleet of new gas meters, although residents fear it will be passed on to them with higher rates. Meanwhile, Sandra, Donna, and Claudia also waiting to learn the fate of several charges.
And you are in violation of criminal law Title 6, 304.
Including disorderly conduct and failing to obey a lawful order, which could result in fines or jail time.
Look, if these charges don't get dropped, the criminal justice system will literally laugh them out of court.
The fact that those resources were used for a private company to bully their way through an unlawful action, we should all be outraged.
Now, that was Rebecca Pryor reporting there, but on Friday, Fox 45 News pressed Mayor Brandon Scott and the acting commissioner, Richard Worley, on whether Thursday's police response was an appropriate use of the department's resources. Here's what they said.
BPD did their work, Monsi and the mayor's office of neighborhood did their work of explaining that to folks, and then unfortunately BPD had to take action after warnings. Folks can protest. They could have went across the street. They can protest until the cows come home.
All they had to do was move to the left or the right and give them access to the property and where they needed to work, and we would not have done anything. But
If you'd like to hear more about this issue, including how to join that class action suit, go to this story on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Now, BGE has seen its fair share of backlash this year in Baltimore. The city struck a new deal with the company over the city's conduit system, but two members of the Board of Estimates tried to stop that vote. Mayor Brandon Scott went through the deal without their approval. Just 2 days after the mayor approved it, BGE requested annual rate hikes each year. Now, it would increase the average bill a little more than $10 each month. The Maryland Public Service Commission would have to approve that, though. In a city in crisis, the Baltimore City Police Mobile Command Unit in Fells Point this weekend. The big bus has been sent out to hotspots on the weekends where chaos has ensued previously. It had been parked near the Inner Harbor. Recent weekends at Fells Point have turned violent with fights and brawls in the street after a last call at the bars. Well, this past weekend was where an officer was pushed to the ground and hurt. We're going to monitor public safety efforts in Fells Point through the coming weeks. Baltimore City is still using a youth curfew to keep juvenile crime under control. This summer, there's one less community center in use. Volunteers told Fox 45 News earlier this week that the city had decided to close the Rita Church Community Center, one of two centers being used in the effort. We checked that location Friday night. There was no activity. Fox 45 News asked Monsi officials about the potential changes to the curfew plan Thursday and have not heard back. Earlier this week, Monsi admitted that no children have accepted rides to connection centers since the curfew took effect Memorial Day weekend. Baltimore officials now announcing the takedown of an 8-member drug trafficking ring. They're known as the Cary Boys. Acting Commissioner Richard Worley says the investigation began back in January when they discovered what they believed to be a drug trafficking ring. Along North Cary Street, investigators seized more than 2 firearms, more than 1,000 vials of cocaine, more than 1,500 gel capsules with fentanyl inside. Officials say the search is stretched into Baltimore County.
Sometimes individuals may lay their heads in different areas, and let me just go ahead and leave it like that. And but it's all connected. You know, when you look at crime, it's connected. Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and so you know, the law of the streets, unfortunately, sometime in Baltimore City, bring individuals back to areas.
Well, investigators are now working to see if any of the guns seized are connected to other crimes. 2 of the 8 suspects have been released on home confinement. The rest remain in custody.
Hey, here's a school. They get a bus.
What?
Yeah, they have a bus.
What? That's not fair!
A big boost to school transportation funding in Howard County, but a cut in bus routes. Project Baltimore digs into where that money is going and the skyrocketing cost.
Waking up to some sunshine this morning for your Sunday, but we do have a few more storms we've got to get through here, not only today, but into the beginning of the new week. We'll talk about that in your Weather Authority forecast coming up.
It's been 1 year since the Supreme Court's controversial decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, striking down nearly 50 years of federal abortion protections. Democrats continue to slam that decision, calling on voters to take action.
We, all of us, are now called upon to advance the promise of freedom, including the freedom of every woman to make decisions about her own body, not the government telling her what to do.
Leading reproductive rights groups like Planned Parenthood and Emily's List recently announced their endorsements of President Biden and Vice President Harris for re-election next year. Supporters of the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade holding the first ever National Celebrate Life Day rally in Washington, D.C. Former Vice President Mike Pence among those speaking out against abortion.
We will work and we will pray as never before to advance the cause of life in the laws of the land in every state in America.
Now, abortion is likely to be central in next year's elections. Republicans defending the high court's decision, arguing reproductive rights should be left up to the states. And Maryland lawmakers, meanwhile, sounding off the alarm on the Supreme Court's decision on social media. Governor Wes Moore says Maryland will continue to be a safe haven for anyone seeking an abortion. Representative Andy Harris, Maryland's lone Republican in Congress, says abortion should not be controlled by the federal government, and Marylanders must fight to protect the sanctity of life. Governor Wes Moore sending a mixed message on crime across the country, why some are saying it is the wrong message to send. And Howard County parents voicing their concerns as students find out they'll soon be walking to school. Project Baltimore questions the move, even as the district spends more money on transportation. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Thousands of students in Howard County, the wealthiest county in Maryland, are losing their school buses. At the same time, the district is spending millions more on transportation. So where's that money going? Project Baltimore's Chris Papps investigates what could be the driving factor.
Hey, here's a school. They get a bus.
What?
Yeah, they have a bus.
What? That's not fair!
For Mark Sam Chi,
The school's right here, and the neighborhood's right here.
School bus service in Howard County makes no sense.
Here's the bus.
Last week, On the last day of school, Sam Chee's 6-year-old daughter and all the other elementary school students in this Elkridge neighborhood rode the bus for the last time. These kids and 3,500 other students in Howard County are now considered walkers.
Yeah.
The district says it's working to make transportation more efficient. But Sam Chee isn't convinced.
The neighborhood directly across the street from the school has a bus serving them next year. Literally across the street.
Strange, but true. This is the district's bus coverage map. This neighborhood that's feet from the school has bus service. Sam Chee's neighborhood, parts of which are more than a mile from the school, lost its bus. Howard County told Fox 45 News this neighborhood has a bus because there's no crossing guard at the intersection.
But these kids right here who are literally, 100 yards from the school, the front of their neighborhood, they don't walk because they don't have a crossing guard.
Over the last few years, Howard County has significantly increased its transportation budget. It's up $13 million, or about 30%, over the last 2 years. But if 3,500 fewer students now have a bus, and intersections like this one don't have crossing guards, where's the extra money going?
It's a head scratcher, right?
Howard County Public Schools will not agree to an interview with Project Baltimore to answer that question. But in a statement, the school system cited critical driver shortages and a change in school start times, which decreases the window of time to transport students, saying this reduction of 45 minutes requires a significant amount of additional drivers and buses. So we looked through recently approved busing contracts and found this. Next school year, Howard County Schools will pay out more than $45 million in transportation contracts. Well over half of that, $27 million, will go to a new bus company out of California called Zoom. Zoom is an electric bus company that markets itself as the first and only 100% carbon neutral bus company in America that finds cleaner, safer, and more equitable solutions to student transportation. Zoom will take over 230 bus routes in Howard County. At $27 million, that comes out to $117,000 per route. Vienna's Transportation, which had the contract for Sam Chee's neighborhood, charges around $75,000 per route using diesel school buses. That's $42,000 less than Zoom. In its statement, Howard County Schools told us it's implemented a new service model that has a fixed price amount, as opposed to the existing contracts, which have variable costs for fuel and mileage. In other words, Howard County Schools decided to spend nearly $30 million a year on a carbon-neutral bus company and cut bus service for 3,500 students. The parents we spoke with said if the idea is to go green, this is not the way to do it.
That's nice that they want to do electric buses, but if we're all driving our elementary school kids, that's just more cars, more impact on the environment than the electric bus can negate, I feel like. It seems like a big waste of money.
Well, I think our parents and our families have a right to be concerned and even frustrated.
Project Baltimore spoke with Howard County Executive Calvin Ball, who gave schools record funding this year. But despite that funding, the district cut bus service for thousands of students.
I'm hopeful that our school system, our Board of Education, is going to look and work with our parents, work with our communities to ensure that our kids can get to school safely and create that best teaching and learning environment.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Our Project Baltimore team is going to stay on this story, digging deeper into the district's budget to see where your tax dollars are truly going. And if you're a Howard County parent concerned about transportation next year, we want to hear from you. Call that tip line number on your screen or go ahead and just send us an email. Well, looks like Mother Nature is working in our favor today. Meteorologist Justin Chambers. I was so happy when I woke up this morning and it wasn't gray. I could see outside my window.
I know, that was nice. And we carried what we saw yesterday afternoon into the morning time. And that's what we're seeing right now with lots of sunshine. It's already a little bit on the muggy side of things. Definitely that moisture hanging around from all of that rain that we've had over the last couple of days. Now, believe it or not, even though some of us saw some decent showers yesterday, we still only officially got a trace of precipitation. So we're still almost 9 inches below average for this time of year where we typically see them. And we're almost halfway through the year, and usually we see a lot more rain. But we are going to track more of those storms developing, especially tomorrow. Everything looking good right now. Lots of sun that is out there, and our temperature right there at 71. No wind to speak of at this time. But the dew point at 66 degrees. So we always talk about those dew points, and when we see those dew points in the 60s and 70s, muggy conditions, and also could prompt a few more thunderstorms popping up as we head toward the afternoon. Now, here's our HD radar. Finally quiet, right? Not seeing much of anything. You pull back a little bit farther, and we're tracking our next weather maker. That's developing in the Midwest. You can see that line of showers and thunderstorms here with that associated area of low pressure. That's going to make its way to us by the time we get into tomorrow, late afternoon into tomorrow evening. And that is also going to prompt more than likely a weather alert day for us, because we are going to see that slight risk for severe weather. That's 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. We even had an enhanced risk for Richmond, Virginia, down to the south of us, which is a 3, while the rest of us on a marginal risk. So it is going to be more active as we get into tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. As for today, for the most part, we stay dry. This is a look at our hourly future scan through noontime. You'll see a few more of those clouds pop up, and about 2, 3 o'clock, we're going to have that potential pop-up shower or thunderstorm. You'll get some of those towering cumulus clouds, again, with that daytime heating. But overall, that's about it. We're not going to really see much as we get into Sunday evening. So just a stray pop-up thunderstorm is what we're looking at for today. As you rise and shine with us, get ready for a church or brunch in the next couple of hours, mid to upper 70s and close to 80 by about 10 a.m. And jumping in the pool, great pool day, at least for the first half of the day. Remember that UV index in that very high category, but we're going to see temps into the upper 80s and lower 90s into that 2 and 3 o'clock hours. So definitely want to make sure to be careful when some of those thunderstorms start to fire and you want to head indoors. Upper 80s and lower 90s across central Maryland and up and down the 95 corridor, keeping those 80s and even a few lower 90s as well, even if you're heading down the ocean. 78 there in Ocean City for today. All right, so here's that 7-day forecast. O's back at it today at 105 there at Camden Yards. Lower 90s with that chance for strong storms tomorrow into the afternoon. Again, that's going to be a more than likely weather alert day for us on Monday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, those numbers are backing off, low to mid 80s as we take you through the middle of the week, and we will start to dry out as well. Taylor?
All righty, now former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon hints at a second run. An expert discusses her potential path to victory and some roadblocks potentially in her way. But first, Baltimore celebrating Pride Month. After the break, a look at the sea of colors on the streets of Charles Village. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. The festivities for Baltimore Pride continue today at Juvenile Park. Many people will be celebrating at the inaugural Pride 5K race. That race gets underway in an hour and a half at 9 o'clock, and then after that, that's going to start Pride at the Park at noon, where more than 100 vendors will be taking over Juvenile Park. They'll have music, drag performers, and more. We've got more information on all the events happening for Pride Week at baltimorepride.org. Plenty of celebration on the streets of Charles Village yesterday for the annual Pride Parade. This year's theme is One Love, One Heart, One Pride, to honor the contributions made by the LGBTQIA+ community in Charm City. The parade is in its 48th year and continues to see massive turnout. The fun continued after the parade with a block party along North Avenue. And we're starting off here with dry weather this morning. Meteorologist Justin Chambers lets us know if the rest of your work week will stay this way. And coming off the worst loss of the year, the Birds look to knot the series at 1. An unlikely hero walks it off in extras coming up next in Sports Unlimited. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good Sunday morning to you, looking live over the harbor, and just look at that sun glistening on the water. We're in for a good Sunday here. It's June 25th. Thanks for being with us. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get right over to your forecast. We've got meteorologist DJ Justin Chambers, pilot Justin. I mean, we could do intros all day.
That's fine with me. I'm all good with that. By the way, Taylor, we know we just got into summer, but 6 months from today.
Stop.
It's Christmas.
Stop.
Come on.
Don't rush me to the end of this year,
December
Justin.
25th is right around the corner. Yeah, we have a warm and even hot day ahead. We are going to see a little bit more of that sunshine. Again, nice to see that for sure, especially with as wet as we've been and as cloudy as we've been too. Now, statewide, our numbers are in the 60s in Western Maryland. We're already seeing some lower 70s for you in Westminster and Bel Air out through Chestertown on the Eastern Shore. Lower 70s for Baltimore down through Annapolis, even 68 there at North Beach. So hopefully Mother Nature did a lot of the watering for you. Yard and some gardening, Cass. It's going to warm up. We're going to see upper 80s and lower 90s as we head into the later part of this afternoon. So be aware of that. We'll top out right about 90 today. We do have that chance for a pop-up storm. Better chance for storms is coming tomorrow, and that's going to be a possible weather alert day here in the area, especially tomorrow afternoon into the evening time. And then we're cooler, but more rain is rolling in on Tuesday. So some unsettled weather for the first part of your work week. We'll take a closer look at that coming up in a few minutes. Taylor?
All right. We start off this morning in a city in crisis. A 37-year-old man was shot early yesterday morning in Baltimore. Police found this man just after midnight with a gunshot wound to his head. Homicide investigators were called to the scene. We're going to bring you more information when it becomes available. Governor Wes Moore speaking at the National Press Club this week, calling out Republicans and the media, saying they're sparking fear, claiming crime is not as bad as people think.
The false narratives of some politicians who say that every urban area is a city in crisis. A false narrative of some in the media who say that violence is everywhere.
Now, some people argue the governor's take on crime has been a little confusing and that he's ignoring the real issue. Vincent Hill has more.
Mixed messages from Governor Wes Moore when it comes to crime. Speaking at the National Press Club,
we know that since the 1990s, incidences of violent crime have gone down across America.
The governor saying crime is down, calling Baltimore's crime crisis a figment of the imagination.
It is fueled by a collection of false narratives that we allow to continue to exist. A false narrative of some in the media who say that violence is everywhere.
But in Baltimore, that narrative, more of a reality for mothers like Michelle Hines.
This cannot keep happening to our kids. This cannot keep being on the news.
Her 16-year-old son, Isaiah Carter, shot and killed outside of Patterson High School.
There were 19 other mothers that felt the way that I just described.
The governor appearing to turn that pain into politics.
This first myth that we need to confront is the false narrative of the politician.
But just a few weeks earlier, when unveiling his three-part crime plan to combat gun violence.
Over the past 8 years, the number of non-fatal shootings in the state of Maryland has doubled. Over the past 8 years, the number of homicides in the state of Maryland has nearly doubled.
He addressed a rise in shootings, but did not support a bill making the theft of a handgun a felony.
We know that since the 1990s, incidences of violent crime have gone down across America.
It's really confusing.
Delegate Kathy Sheila, who supported the bill, calling out the governor's flip-flop messaging.
The guns used in these horrific murders that we see across our region are largely stolen guns. So if you're serious about gun crime, why not make stealing a gun a felony?
There is definitely a mixed message, but it's a message to two different audiences.
Political analyst John Dede says Governor Moore may be more focused on looking ahead.
He is definitely someone people are talking about for 2028. The DC audience, the audience that elevates your profile, elevates you as far as national prominence.
While overlooking the needs of the people of Maryland.
Local people, they know what the situation is. National people have no clue what goes on outside the Beltway. They have no idea.
A critical tool in Baltimore's crime fight is City State Attorney Ivan Bates's citation docket. It's designed to go after low-level quality of life crimes. The first docket scheduled for July 17th, but questions remain about the level of enforcement, especially for BPD surrounding open-air drug markets.
Police officers should not just drive by. They see something that is illegal. They see people who are getting high in public, who are doing other things. Stop them.
Some of the frustrations that folks in the room had well before the shooting even happened were around enforcement of open-air drug markets, drug corners, the loitering that kind of goes on and continues to be an issue.
We reached out to BPD on Thursday to find out how many citations have been issued. They did not respond. We sent a request to the district court. We are awaiting those official numbers.
If they gave me that choice, I would not let them down.
Former Baltimore mayor hinting at a possible run again. The 2024 race taking shape and the questions that remain as people wonder if it's time to change course.
Good to see the sun that is popping out today, but we still have to get through a couple of thunderstorms and even some severe weather possibly tomorrow. We'll be talking about that in your Weather Authority forecast on Fox 45 Morning News, Weekend Edition.
I feel if the voters, because that's the voters are the most important, and they have to make choices. If they gave me that choice, I would not let them down.
Former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon hinting at a possible run for mayor come 2024. She said those comments during the Your Voice, Your Future town hall this week on Fox 45. The mayoral primary in Baltimore is less than a year away, and the field could start to take shape. It is, really. Dixon promises to focus on crime and raising performance in city schools if she's elected. But the jury is still out on how fit she is to lead, given past controversies.
Dixon is a viable candidate. She presents to people an opportunity, a solution.
Former Mayor Sheila Dixon hinting at another run for Baltimore City's top job.
I know I can make a tremendous difference.
Dixon elected mayor in 2007, potentially vying for that seat again come 2024, hanging her hat on impact and the historic drop in the city's homicide rate during her time in office.
I feel if the voters, because that's the voters are the most important, and they have to make choices. If they gave me that choice, I would not let them down.
Dr. Al Hathaway, then a reverend at West Baltimore's Union Baptist Church, now a board member for the Greater Baltimore Committee.
From the time that she was in office to now, she's done some very positive things in the community. She's done work with minority businesses. She's done work in the community in terms of economic development. She clearly understands what to do.
But whether she's the right person for the job, a less cut and dry answer.
Mayor Scott is growing in his role as mayor. There is now an alignment between the federal government, between the state, and between our Baltimore City State's attorney in terms of enforcement.
Hathaway points to progress made by the mayor's group violence reduction strategy, responsible for the takedown of a drug trafficking ring announced on Friday. He questions whether now is the time to change course, whether Scott, Dixon, or another challenger. He says the best candidate must come to the table with answers.
What's going to be my management strategy? What's going to be my administrative strategy around key offices, key agencies? I'm going to ensure that I have the best candidate and best person in those offices. You can't get away from this. I've got to have a strategy for improving schools.
Just as Mayor Scott's track record on schools and crime follows him to the ballot box, Dixon's would too. Now, after 2 years, Dixon's tenure as mayor came to an abrupt halt when she pled guilty to a misdemeanor embezzlement charge and was forced to resign. Dixon says she felt shame and embarrassment, saying she sought mental help. She says she'll have to rebuild trust among voters. Now, the former mayor was also pressed about a recent Wallet Hub survey ranking Baltimore among the worst-run cities in America. One of the factors the survey looked at was graduation rates. In Baltimore, it's ranked 146th on the list of 149 cities when it comes to education. Dixon says the city is in dire need of change.
Baltimore City residents, taxpayers are now committed to contributing even more money to our Baltimore City public schools. There is a whole host of things that need to happen. We need to tear down the entire system and start over. For basic fundamental things need to happen. You know, we could say COVID was an issue over the last 2 years, but I think it goes beyond COVID and kids not being in the classroom. We have to look at the families. We have to look at what's happening and why we aren't prioritizing within the family education.
Former Mayor Dixon also addressed city school leadership, saying she would try to sit down with city school CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises if she's elected mayor. This week, we're asking if the Baltimore City mayoral primary were happening right now, who would get your vote? Mayor Brandon Scott or former Mayor Sheila Dixon? So far, 96% of voters say Sheila Dixon. You can go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. If you missed the town hall, the conversation with Armstrong Williams and Sheila Dixon, you can still watch it now on foxbaltimore.com. It's also going to re-air today at 1 p.m. on MyTV Baltimore. Many people are making preparations to watch the total solar eclipse. Why so many are booking hotels for the big event happening in 2024. And dogs from across the nation showing off their wave riding skills. After the break, how they're enjoying this first weekend of summer. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News. Look at him go. All local, all morning. Members of the Directors Guild of America have voted to approve a new contract with the movie studios. The 3-year deal was approved Friday night by an 87% of the membership. It secures wage increases along with global streaming residuals and diversity and creative rights. It addresses some usage of artificial intelligence, mandating that it's not going to replace the duties performed by union members. And it bans the use of live ammunition on a set, a move that follows the 2021 deaths on the movie Rust. The deal comes as the Writers Guild strike, and it's in this 8th week with no signs of progress. A total solar eclipse will pass over Mexico, the United States, and Canada on April 8th of next year. And fans of the highly anticipated celestial event are hoping to book their seats to view it early. Some of them already started booking hotels in areas where you can clearly see that eclipse. The path will be about 115 miles wide, crossing 13 states and eastern Canada. Next year's total solar eclipse will be the last time Americans will be able to actually see such an event until August of 2044. The dog days of summer are here and the surfers are out. Take a look at this. These dogs took part in the 26th annual Purina Pro Plan Incredible Dog Challenge. It's a surf dog competition, so how does a dog win a surf competition? Well, here's what one dog trainer had to say.
So they judge kind of like humans. It's going to be size of the wave, confidence on the wave, any tricks they can pull, and obviously length of the wave. Some dogs will do 360s, some lay down, some stand up, some just jump off and get, I guess, style points for that.
The two-day event made dogs from across the country show their agility and driving skills on those waves. BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport has been in business now for 73 years. It originally opened as Friendship International Airport back in 1950. It was later renamed after Thurgood Marshall in 2005. Well, today, BWI is one of the 20th busiest airports in America, servicing just under 10 million travelers a year. The 65th Capitol Emmy Awards have wrapped up, and we're celebrating several wins here for our team of journalists across a wide variety of subjects. Here's some of the award winners. Congratulations to our Amy Simpson, Maxine Stryker, Mackenzie Frost, Jeff Abel, Keith Daniels, who won the first Emmy of his career. That's just to name a few. Project Baltimore also took home 5 Emmys. Congrats to all of the winners here. We're here with another winner, too, meteorologist Justin Chambers. And you got some winning weather on our forecast
Well,
today.
it's nice to see the sun, Taylor, but we still have to check and track the potential for a couple of pop-up thunderstorms later this afternoon. And then really tomorrow, we'll have that potential for even stronger storms moving in by tomorrow afternoon into the evening. That's more than likely going to be a weather alert day here for us. But everything looks good right now, nice and calm. It's a bit muggy already. We're at 71, the official number at BWI Thurgood Marshall, where, of course, we take those readings, and that's the official reading for you. No wind to speak of, but that dew point at 66 degrees. So we're going to see a muggy day today, and temperatures that will be a little bit warmer. Ahoy, boaters and watermen, if you're going to be out there on the water today. Looking good for your captain's cast. West wind about 5 to 10 knots and waves about a foot or less, with that high tide at 12:19 and low tide at 7:10 tonight. Now, we do have that potential for a pop-up shower or thunderstorm, so just know that once things get a little bit rough out there, you start to see those towering cumulus clouds. Make sure to get back in off the water. All right, so here's our HD radar. Everything is nice and quiet right now. Nothing to really show, but we do have this, what we call a trough of low pressure that's kind of hanging around in our area, and that's our next weather maker on the left-hand side of your screen. Those showers and storms rolling through the Midwest. That's going to make a run at us as we head into tomorrow afternoon, and that is why the Storm Prediction Center has pretty much all of us under a slight risk for severe weather. That is a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. You can see that scale right up there. The enhanced risk, which is a 3, is for areas in southern Virginia down to the Richmond area. So tomorrow will be an active day, and we're monitoring for that potential weather alert as well. Now, as for today, our hourly future scan looking good. Again, we're dry for most of the morning into the early afternoon. As you get to about 2, 3, 4 o'clock, you're going to see a couple of stray pop-up thunderstorms. But look at the coverage there. Not a lot of green on the map. So we're not expecting a lot today. It's just going to be kind of those hit-and-miss showers and storms. Pilot cast, we're talking VFR today. How about that? Visual flight rules. Nice to see. I was out there hanging out at Martin like for 4 hours yesterday, waiting for the clouds to break, and, you know, did a couple turns in the pattern and then came back down. That was about all I could do. So today, a better chance for you to get those flights in. We're talking about 80s and even lower 90s across the area here for Carroll and Baltimore counties for your highs today. Mid to upper 80s for you in Ellicott City and Columbia, down through Glen Burnie and Pasadena and Anne Arundel County as well. We'll top out right about 90. O's game, 1:35 this afternoon. Should be good to go. Again, maybe a delay with some of those thunderstorms as we get later into the game today, but lower 90s again tomorrow with that potential weather alert day, then cooler with more rain on Tuesday before we dry out later this week.
The Orioles going against the Seattle Mariners today at 1:35 at Camden Yards. After the break, we're going to recap last night's game on Sports Unlimited. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
It's an injury I've never dealt with before, so there was really no idea in my head on what the timeline would be like. Body was responding really well down in Florida and was able to progress every single day, kind of push, the leg a little bit, and to the point where it feels really good.
Welcome back, Cedric Mullins, and welcome into your morning sports report. Mullins, who has been one of the O's best players this season, made his return yesterday after missing nearly a month with a groin strain. The Birds, who went 11-9 without Mullins in the lineup, are a much better team when he plays for sure. Buckle up for this roller coaster ride. Dean Kramer on the bump, tied at 1. J.P. Crawford makes it 2-1 Mariners with a solo homer to right. Bottom half of the inning. Anthony Santander, also known as Tony Taters, serves one up to deep right center field. 4:15 on the solo shot. O's tied at 2. He had a big 4-for-4 game and then would give the Birds the lead in the 5th, but they couldn't hold on. Julio Rodriguez in the 6th. Bye-bye ball. Ties it up at 3. Kramer, 7 innings, 3 earned, 5 Ks. Bottom 6, hello Aaron Hicks. Gives the O's the lead again with his 5th home run of the year. Fast forward to the 9th. Mariners down to their final out. This is the guy who went on the mound. Felix Bautista trying to close it out. Mike Ford, 2nd homer of the game. And this one knots it up at 4. You can hear a pin drop at Camden Yards. To extras we go. That all changed when Ryan McKenna entered the game in the 8th as a defensive replacement. Ryan McKenna would exit the field in the 10th as a hero. 2-run walk-off bomb for him as the O's beat the Mariners 6-4. The final score.
Just being ready, just preparing. These guys have done such a great job with everybody here, all the offensive hitters, just being ready to see what we're going to face. They just done a great job with us, and just execute when we can.
When you're with him every day, you really appreciate how much energy he brings to our team. Just the kind of person he is phenomenal, and he's a really good athlete, great athlete that has helped us the last couple of years in a lot of ways, and so fun to watch him get this moment today, and he's earned it.
With a Rays loss and an O's win, the Birds gained some ground on Tampa Bay for first place in the AL East. They're now 4.5 games back of the division lead. The Yankees are sitting in 3rd, Blue Jays in 4th, and the Red Sox in last. Do me a favor, take a look at the records. Every team right now with a winning record in the AL East. That's impressive stuff. Cedric Mullins made his return from the 10-day IL after missing nearly a month with a groin strain suffered on May 29th. Mullins was originally slated to play center field in yesterday's game, but plans changed due to rain. So Mullins would lead off in the DH role. He ended up going 0-for-4 with a walk, a run, and a strikeout in his first game back in the lineup. Aaron Judge has a torn ligament in his right big toe, that according to the Yankees captain himself. The reigning AL MVP has been out of New York's lineup since June 3rd when he crashed into the right field wall at Dodger Stadium. Without Judge in their lineup, the Yankees have lost 10 of their last 16 games. There is currently no timetable for Judge's return. In comparing the Ravens' wide receiver room from last year to this year, it's like night and day, especially when you look at all the injuries. But Eric DeCosta spent the offseason getting Lamar Jackson some weapons, including one of the sport's biggest names in Odell Beckham Jr. Having the opportunity to take the field with Lamar Jackson is one of the reasons OBJ signed with Baltimore. I'm sure the $15 million contract helped as well, but Beckham has praised Lamar's ability to run, and he's a big fan of his passing game, too.
He plays quarterback. He's been throwing the ball all his life. And to watch him, catch a few passes from earlier today, he's got a strong arm. It gets up on you fast. So I'm just excited about that. I know he wants to throw the ball. I'll tell you this, I'll take 10 passes over 10 runs all the time. So I'm all for it. If we're going to air it out, that's fine with me. But it's definitely about winning games. So whatever that takes, I've been from passing to always running the ball. I've been in the mix of both.
I mean, he pretty much was just telling me, he going off of how I'm playing. What I see out there, just let him know what to put us in a better situation to win, and he gonna do it.
That's your morning sports report. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Have a great Sunday.
know that since the 1990s, incidences of violent crime have gone down across America.
Governor Wes Moore claims the media is ramping up crime concerns. The message being met with mixed reaction. But first, 3 women arrested for protesting work at BGE. Now they're taking legal action. Why they say the company needs to be held in check and the response from city leaders.
We are seeing the sun today. Nice change of pace from how things have been lately. We're tracking the potential for a couple of more pop-up thunderstorms as well. We'll break that down for you coming up on your full forecast.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good Sunday morning to you. Looking live over Towson right now. Clear skies, loving it. And we're loving that you're here with us here at Fox 45. Thanks for being with us. It's June 25th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get to your forecast. Meteorologist Justin Chambers on the 1s and 2s.
That's right. Doing it up. Yeah, in for Amy here this morning on your Sunday. Hopefully enjoying your weekend. Got some of that much needed rain with some of those storms that were hanging around yesterday. And then things cleared out nicely and warmed up. And we're going to see that trend continue with that sun that is with us and then the muggy conditions as well. Temperatures will be warmer today. We're already in those low to mid 70s here. 75 in Baltimore City, 71 Woodlawn, 70 in Brooklyn Park, and 73 your temp right now in Dundalk. So you're out and about, Cass, next couple of hours. Temps are going to keep climbing. We should see the lower 80s by about 10 a.m. on our way to the mid to upper 80s through the afternoon, and some of us even sneaking into those lower 90s for your high. In fact, we're going to go for a high of 90 on your Sunday. We do have the potential for a few pop-up storms today, but a better chance for stronger storms that's going to be impacting you as we head into your Monday afternoon, and a potential weather alert day as well. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few.
Developing this morning, 3 women arrested for protesting BGE's utility work earlier this week are now fighting back.
It is possible to go up against what I feel is a predatory company.
People all over Baltimore are outraged.
It disgusts me. We deserve better.
Well, their attorney filed a class action suit against BGE, demanding they stop the installation of outside gas regulators. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spoke to the women and dozens of other city residents about their frustration.
Excuse me, I need you to back up. For Claudia Towles, Magdalena Fitzsimmons, and Sandra Seward. After an overnight stay in Central Booking, the handcuffs are now off.
It wasn't pleasant, but I have to tell you, I'm glad I did it, and I would do it again.
You're going that way. But with dozens of community members at their back, they say their battle with Baltimore Gas and Electric has just begun.
And they're using their influence to bully and to just go through neighborhoods and completely dismiss our rights. And that is not okay.
A lawsuit has been filed.
Attorney Thuruvik Naraja says a class action lawsuit has been filed on behalf of 14 Baltimore City residents, plus 121 others and counting who plan to join in the coming days.
The people all over Baltimore are outraged.
They're seeking an immediate injunction to prevent BGE from installing these external gas regulators and from shutting off gas to homes who refuse the utility work, like Donna Sylvester's, the site of the protest.
Thursday, I was not even home.
Sylvester claiming BGE only gave her hours notice before cutting her service, despite Maryland law requiring at least a 14-day warning period.
It just feels completely unfair and bullying.
The BGE claims proper notice was given, sending a statement to Fox 45 that reads in part, quote, "Our desired approach is to avoid service interruptions, but in some situations it is necessary to maintain the integrity of our systems." The utility company going on to insist placing regulators outside the home is safer, to which residents question, so what's the rush?
If they're so confident in their position, they should be able to put this off like a couple of days and allow the court to decide whether they're right or whether we're right.
BGE and the city is trying to scare people off and push them to do something that we don't have any data for.
They're in it for the profit. They're not in it for the interests of the public.
It remains unclear who's footing the bill for the fleet of new gas meters, although residents fear it will be passed on to them with higher rates. Meanwhile, Sandra, Donna, and Claudia also waiting to learn the fate of several charges. And you are in violation of criminal law Title 6, 304. Including disorderly conduct and failing to obey a lawful order, which could result in fines or jail time.
Look, if these charges don't get dropped, the criminal justice system will literally laugh them out of court.
The fact that those resources were used for a private company to bully their way through an unlawful action, we should all be outraged.
Now, on Friday, Fox 45 News pressed Mayor Brandon Scott and Acting Commissioner Richard Worley as to whether Thursday's police response was an appropriate use of department resources. Here's what they said.
BPD did their work. Monsi and the mayor's office of neighborhood did their work of explaining that to folks, and then unfortunately BPD had to take action after warnings. Folks can protest. They could have went across the street. They can protest until the cows come home.
All they had to do was move to the left or the right and give them access to the property and where they needed to work, and we would not have done anything. But
if you'd like to hear more, including how to join this class action lawsuit, you can go to our website, foxbaltimore.com. BGE has seen its fair share of backlash this year in Baltimore. The city struck a new deal with the company over the city's conduit system, but two members of the Board of Estimates tried to stop that vote. Mayor Brandon Scott went through with the deal without their approval. And amid just 2 days later, BGE requested annual rate hikes during each year of the contract, increasing the average bill a little more than $10 each month. The Maryland Public Service Commission would have to approve that. Making headlines this morning, it's been 1 year since the Supreme Court's controversial decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, striking down nearly 50 years of federal abortion protections. Democrats continue to rail against that decision, calling voters to take action.
We, all of us, are now called upon to advance the promise of freedom, including the freedom of every woman to make decisions about her own body, not the government telling her what to do.
Now, this follows a big week of decisions from the High Court on immigration and access for the Navajo Nation. Decisions on the Supreme Court's decision from the Supreme Court on President Biden's landmark student loan forgiveness plan could come any day now. But before the High Court's summer recess in July, we want to bring in the taxpayer impact and the economic impact it could have. David Williams with the Taxpayer Protection Alliance. Good morning.
Good morning. And this week is going to be a big week for student loan forgiveness because, as you mentioned, the Supreme Court is expected to come down with their decision. They heard arguments in February earlier this year, and the impacts are going to be felt across the board with taxpayers and consumers. I mean, first and foremost, this is really expensive for taxpayers. We're talking about $5 billion a month, and some have estimated that this forgiveness, and the forgiveness is $10,000 for people making less than $125,000. Could cost $400 billion. This is a lot of money to taxpayers for sure.
And I also want to mention that there has been reports that a lot of student loan borrowers have since paid other obligations to debt, and there has been an issue with potentially being able to pay that money back. So I want to talk a bit about the ripple effects that this could have on the economy. What is your view?
Yeah, so it will have ripple effects on the economy, and almost everybody is saying this is going to increase inflation, or at least put a lot of pressure on inflation, because what you're doing is you're putting more money into the economy. And one thing that people aren't talking about is that if you forgive this loan, this is really a bailout for the schools, not only the students, but really the schools, and they have billions of dollars in endowments. And a lot of people are saying that this is going to increase tuition costs. So you may be forgiving loans now, but that can increase tuition costs. And let's be clear that these loans are not going to the lower income folks, that they're actually going to middle and higher income folks. When you have a threshold of $125,000 for someone, a single person, and then $250,000 for a couple, I mean, this is a huge bailout to people that are well off.
A Deutsche Bank estimates that resuming student loan payments could cut American spending by up to $14 billion per month. How does that stack up to the tax implications?
So again, it's the ripple effect, right? And there's actually some indications that if you forgive this $10,000 is that people are going to spend more money because they have it. And, then you talk about Congress and what they're trying to do with the debt deal is to start the repayment. So, I mean, there's so much going on here, Taylor, with student loans. But again, this is it's bad for taxpayers and it's bad for the economy. And I think that this is a really big mistake. And, back 3 years ago when this was part of COVID to stop the the repayments, or at least pause the repayments, people kind of understood it because the economy was shut down and people were, struggling. But we're 3 years after, and the economy is open. And I think that it's time to restart the payments, but also to forgive $10,000 really just doesn't make sense in today's economy, and especially when we're starting to get a little bit of a handle on inflation.
I guess the question really comes down to what the courts are going to have to decide is, did Biden overstep his authority in making this promise? And if so, do the Republican-leaning states who have issued this fight in court, do they have the liability to actually sue the government here? So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But from your take, bad for taxpayers, bad for the entire economy as a whole.
Absolutely. And that's right. A lot of things for the Supreme Court to consider. And I think that Biden overreached, but the states may not have the standing, as you mentioned. So there's two issues here, and it could go down the middle. But I think that by the end of the week, we're going to see that the student loan debt forgiveness is a thing of the past, because I think this court is obviously very conservative and leans conservative. So I think that that's where we're going. But I think it's going to be a mixed decision at best.
All right. We'll wait and see. Thank you so much, David Williams.
Thank you.
All right, former Mayor Sheila Dixon considering a run in 2024. Up next, what one community activist is saying about whether she's fit to lead.
Overall, we're seeing some kind of muggy conditions, but at least we're seeing the sun that is out there right now from our Towson camera. We'll talk about the potential for storms today and later this week as well. It's all coming up on Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition.
I feel if the voters, because that's the voters are the most important, and they have to make choices. If they gave me that choice, I would not let them down.
Former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon hinting at a possible run for mayor come 2024. She made those comments during Your Voice, Your Future town hall earlier this week. Now, the mayoral primary in Baltimore is less than a year away, and the field is starting to take shape. Dixon promises to focus on crime and raising performance in city schools if she's elected. But the jury's still out on if she's fit to lead given her past controversies.
Dixon is a viable candidate. She presents to people an opportunity, a solution.
Former Mayor Sheila Dixon hinting at another run for Baltimore City's top job.
I know I can make a tremendous difference.
Dixon elected mayor in 2007, potentially vying for that seat again come 2024, hanging her hat on impact and the historic drop in the city's homicide rate during her time in office.
I feel if the voters, because that's the voters are the most important, and they have to make choices. If they gave me that choice, I would not let them down.
Dr. Al Hathaway, then a reverend at West Baltimore's Union Baptist Church, now a board member for the Greater Baltimore Committee.
From the time that she was in office to now, she's done some very positive things in the community. She's done work with minority businesses. She's done work in the community in terms of economic development. She clearly understands what to do.
But whether she's the right person for the job, a less cut and dry answer.
Mayor Scott is growing in his role as mayor. There is now an alignment between the federal government, between the state, and between our Baltimore City State's attorney in terms of enforcement.
Hathaway points to progress made by the mayor's group violence reduction strategy, responsible for the takedown of a drug trafficking ring announced on Friday. He questions whether now is the time to change course, whether Scott, Dixon, or another challenger. He says the best candidate must come to the table with answers.
What's going to be my management strategy? What's going to be my administrative strategy around key offices, key agencies? I'm going to ensure that I have the best candidate and best person in those offices. We can't get away from this. I've got to have a strategy for improving schools.
Just as Mayor Scott's track record on schools and crime follows him to the ballot box, Dixon's would too. After 2 years, Dixon's tenure as mayor came to an abrupt halt when she pled guilty to a misdemeanor embezzlement charge. She was forced to resign. Dixon says she felt shame and embarrassment and that she sought mental help thereafter. She also says she will have to rebuild trust among voters. The former mayor was also pressed about a recent Wallet Hub survey ranking Baltimore among the worst-run cities in America. One of the factors the survey looked at was graduation rates. Now, Baltimore is ranked 146 on a list of 149 cities when it comes to education. Dixon says the city is in dire need of change.
Baltimore City residents, taxpayers, are now committed to contributing even more money to our Baltimore City public schools. There is a whole host of things that need to happen. We need to tear down the entire system and start over. For basic, fundamental things need to happen. You know, we could say COVID was an issue over the last 2 years, but I think it goes beyond COVID and kids not being in the classroom. We have to look at the families. We have to look at what's happening and why we aren't prioritizing within the family education.
The former mayor also addressed city school leadership, saying she would sit down with city school CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises if she's elected mayor. This week, we're asking folks, if Baltimore's city, the mayor primary was right now, who would you vote for? Mayor Brandon Scott or former Mayor Sheila Dixon? So far, 96% of people say Sheila Dixon. 4% say Scott. You can weigh in right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. If you missed Armstrong's conversation with Ms. Dixon, you can watch it here on foxbaltimore.com. And it will also re-air later today at 1 o'clock on MyTV Baltimore. A rebellion in Russia comes to an abrupt conclusion. How the Kremlin is addressing what they call an act of betrayal. And the city is still using its new youth curfew to keep kids safe this summer. But this weekend, there's one less community center open in the city. The latest curfew update just ahead. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. We're going to meteorologist Justin Chambers. He was ready to jump on in, and I wasn't mad at it because, you know, it's starting off pretty, and we're going to see some showers again later, but we still need them.
You know, I usually work during the week. So,
I know.
You know, just kind of hanging out on the weekend show in for Miss Amy today. That's what I'm doing. I'm here. I'm still working on my stuff back there. What I wanted to talk about, though, Taylor, how about Ryan McKenna and that walk-off home run in extra innings yesterday to win the game?
I'm loving it. And 1:30 again today. We're going to see
135 first pitch. So we call it the rubber match because if we win today, we win the series. And as Mom always says, if you win all the series, you win the World Series. That'd be nice. So, yeah, it should be a good day for baseball out there in Charm City. Now, we do have the potential of a couple of late-day pop-up thunderstorms. So here's a look at your O's cast. And again, first pitch at 1:35. It's going to be warm, guys. We're talking about hanging out in the bird bath and cooling off. Upper 80s and then into the lower 90s through the fifth inning and through the rest of the game. Again, later today is when we have that potential of a stray pop-up thunderstorm. So hopefully they can get the game in. Now, look at the hourly future scan. Everything looking dry today, definitely drier than where we've been the last couple of days. And you'll get a little bit more cloud cover rolling in by about 2, 3 o'clock. Things will start to get a little bit warmer on the ground, and that's what could help fire off a couple of thunderstorms as we head into that 5 and 6 o'clock hour tonight. But again, very just kind of hit and miss, so very isolated in terms of our thunderstorm coverage today. Different story tomorrow. This is a look at our storm outlook, and notice all of us here in yellow. That's a slight risk for severe weather, a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5 from the Storm Prediction Center. So pretty likely that we're going to get some of those strong possible severe thunderstorms, especially late tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow evening. And we're going to more than likely shift into a weather alert day for your Monday. Here's a look at your forecast. If you are going to be out there playing some golf today, yeah, make sure to stay hydrated. Upper 70s through that 9 o'clock hour, mid 80s through noon, and we'll see those temperatures climb to the upper 80s and even a few lower 90s. And again, a stray thunderstorm, got to make sure to get indoors when thunder roars. Upper 80s and lower 90s for most of us across central Maryland. 87 in D.C. today, 86 in Philly, upper 70s down the ocean there in Ocean City for the afternoon. So here's what's going on. Here's our future scan again today. This is that strong system that's coming through tomorrow. Might have a few showers tomorrow morning, but then tomorrow afternoon, right there, look at that, the orange and the red. That's that potential for those stronger storms to roll through. So it's going to be on a Monday late afternoon, evening time frame that will have the best chance for some of those strong thunderstorms that could bring damaging wind gusts. There is a low-end tornado threat, too. So again, we're going to more than likely shift into that weather alert day for you on Monday. Tuesday, we're cooler, still some showers left over, but by the time we get later into the week, our temperatures start to go up and we dry out as well.
Alrighty, making headlines this morning, a group of Russian rebels reach a deal with the Kremlin. Their commander has agreed to go into exile in Belarus, and the Kremlin will drop charges against him for mounting an armed rebellion. The rebels are with the Voyager mercenary army. Their group ordered the troops to turn on Russia, accusing Putin of trying to kill his men. Now, Putin says it's time for Russians to protect their country as U.S. officials see an opening and some weakness in Putin's leadership.
Any turmoil is a deadly threat to our statehood, to us as a nation. This is a blow to Russia, to our people. And our actions to protect the fatherland from such a threat will be tough.
There is an opportunity here. You know that Putin's been caught flat-footed, so the next 24, 48, 72 hours are going to be crucial.
While Putin has said his highest goal is to avoid bloodshed and internal confrontation, which may be why he agreed to let the rebels go free. The Directors Guild of America signs a new contract with movie studios, what they're doing to keep movie sets safe in light of recent controversy. But first, Baltimore Pride continues through the weekend. How the LGBTQ+ community and its allies are celebrating right here in Charm City. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Plenty to celebrate on the streets of Charles Street yesterday for the annual Pride Parade. It continues today. This year's theme, One Love, One Heart, One Pride, to honor the contributions made by the LGBTQ+ community in Charm City. The parade is in its 48th year and continues to see massive turnout. Just ahead, Governor Moore sending a mixed message on crime in Maryland. Why some say it's the wrong message. Just ahead. And more on the takedown of the large-scale drug trafficking ring in West Baltimore. How authorities are working to keep you safe. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you. Looking live over Camden Yards on this Sunday, June 25th. I'm Taylor Stewart. And we want to get over to your weather because, as you can see, the sun is out today. You can see out your window. Meteorologist Justin Chambers must have brought it with him.
Have you gone to an O's game yet?
I have not.
We got to get you to an O's game.
I got to go.
I mean, come on.
And a Ravens game. I mean, come on. Let's.
Still one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, and we are almost to the All-Star break. How about that? Here's a look at our Towson cam right now, looking right down York Road. Kind of a mix of clouds and sun out there, but we're not seeing the rain or those storms, but we're not quite done with that just yet. So 63 in Oakland, but 70 in Cumberland, statewide low to mid 70s. This is what we're seeing. So already kind of muggy and warm as you step out here this morning. Boaters and watermen on your captain's cast. Good day to be on the water overall. Just a little bit of light wind out of the west, about 5 to 10 knots, and waves about a foot or less with that high tide at 12-19. But it's going to warm up today with upper 80s in a couple of areas close to about 90 degrees. Also a stray thunderstorm to watch for. So no matter what you're doing outside today, just be aware when thunder roars, head indoors. Right about a high of 90 today, 91 tomorrow. Stronger storms on the way from Monday will more than likely shift into a weather alert day. We're watching that right now, but we'll be talking about that. And then cooler with a few more showers coming in on Tuesday. Taylor?
Sounds good. All right, Governor Wes Moore spoke at the National Press Club this week, calling out Republicans and the media, saying and claiming crime is not actually as bad as people think. Now,
the false narratives of some politicians who say that every urban area is a city in crisis. A false narrative of some in the media who say that violence is everywhere.
Used by the governor's stance on crime and that he's ignoring the real issue. Fox 45's Vincent Hill spoke with residents about how they're feeling.
Mixed messages from Governor Wes Moore when it comes to crime. Speaking at the National Press Club.
We know that since the 1990s, incidences of violent crime have gone down across America.
The governor saying crime is down, calling Baltimore's crime crisis a figment of the imagination.
It is fueled by a collection of false narratives that we allow to continue to exist. A false narrative of some in the media who say that violence is everywhere.
But in Baltimore, that narrative, more of a reality for mothers like Michelle Hines.
This cannot keep happening to our kids. This cannot keep being on the news.
Her 16-year-old son, Isaiah Carter, shot and killed outside of Patterson High School.
There were 19 other mothers that felt the way that I just described.
The governor appearing to turn that pain into politics.
This first myth that we need to confront is the false narrative of the politician.
But just a few weeks earlier, when unveiling his three-part crime plan to combat gun violence,
over the past 8 years, the number of non-fatal shootings in the state of Maryland has doubled. Over the past 8 years, the number of homicides in the state of Maryland has nearly doubled.
He addressed a rise in shootings, but did not support a bill making the theft of a handgun a felony.
We know that since the 1990s, incidences of violent crime have gone down across America.
It's really confusing.
Delegate Kathy Sheila, who supported the bill, calling out the governor's flip-flop messaging.
The guns used in these horrific murders that we see across our region are largely stolen guns. So if you're serious about gun crime, why not make stealing a gun a felony?
There is definitely a mixed message, but it's a message to two different audiences.
Political analyst John Deedy says Governor Moore may be more focused on looking ahead.
He is definitely someone people are talking about for 2028. The DC audience, the audience that elevates your profile, elevates you as far as national prominence.
While overlooking the needs of the people of Maryland.
Local people, they know what the situation is. National people have no clue what goes on outside the Beltway. They have no idea.
A critical tool in Baltimore's crime fight, City State Attorney Ivan Bates' citation docket. It's designed to go after low-level quality of life crimes. The first docket is scheduled for July 17th, but questions remain about BPD's level of enforcement, especially surrounding open-air drug markets.
Police officers should not just drive by. They see something that is illegal. They see people who are getting high in public, who are doing other things. Stop them.
Some of the frustrations that folks in the room had well before the shooting even happened were around enforcement of open-air drug markets, drug corners, the loitering that kind of goes on and continues to be an issue.
Now, we reached out to BPD on Thursday to find out just how many citations have been issued. They did not respond. We sent a request to the district court, and we're waiting on those official numbers. Elsewhere, an update on the mayor's Build Better Baltimore plan. The city has repaired more than 21,000 potholes and repaved more than 10 miles of roadways. If you see a pothole, you are encouraged to submit pictures and a location through the Baltimore 311 app. Baltimore City is still using a youth curfew to keep juvenile crime under control, but this summer there's now one less community center that's in use. Volunteers told Fox 45 earlier this week that the city decided to close the Rita Church Community Center, one of two centers being used in this effort. We checked that location on Friday. There was no activity. Fox 45 asked Muncie officials about the potential changes to the curfew plan. We've not yet heard back. Earlier this week, though, Muncie admitted that no children have accepted rides to connection centers since the curfew took effect Memorial Day weekend. Baltimore officials announcing the takedown of an 8-member drug trafficking ring known as the Cary Boys. Acting Police Commissioner Richard Worley says the investigation started back in January. They discovered what they believed to be a drug trafficking ring operating along North Cary Street. Investigators seized 2 firearms, more than 1,000 vials of cocaine, and more than 1,500 gel capsules with fentanyl inside. Officials say the search is stretched into Baltimore County.
Sometimes individuals may lay their heads in different areas, and let me just go ahead and leave it like that. And but it's all connected. You know, when you look at crime, it's connected. Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and so you know, the law of the streets, unfortunately, sometimes in Baltimore City, bring individuals back to areas.
Investigators are now working to see if any of the guns they seized are connected to other crimes in the city. They've also released 2 of the 8 suspects on home confinement. The rest remain in custody. It's been more than 50 years since Title IX was enacted, expanding opportunities for women and girls in sports. Find out why some Republicans are saying these opportunities are now under attack.
We're finally seeing the sun today, but it is already warm and muggy out there, and we're tracking the potential for a few more pop-up thunderstorms as well. We'll break down your full forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Stay with us, won't you?
This week marks 51 years since the signing of Title IX, expanding opportunities for women and girls in sports. But some Republicans argue women's sports are under attack. Janae Bowen has the latest effort from lawmakers.
The debate over who should participate in women's sports hit Capitol Hill this week.
We don't want to have women's achievements stripped away by biological men.
Female lawmakers and athletes announced a resolution that would designate National Women in Sports Week. It comes as the controversy over whether transgender women should be allowed to participate in women's sports.
I'm standing here for the next generation of girls who are today training to compete and do not want to have to face men with an unfair biological advantage.
Riley Gaines, a former college swimmer who tied in a race with Leah Thomas, a transgender woman, testified about encountering Thomas in a locker room.
Of course, the experience in and of the locker room itself is traumatizing, but I think for me, it was so easy for them to dismiss our rights to privacy.
But transgender advocates accuse those who want to stop transgender women from competing against biological women of being anti-trans.
This is not an exaggeration. This is not a dramatization. More than 525 anti-LGBTQ+ bills have been introduced this year in the states.
22 states have passed laws banning transgender athletes from taking part in sports that align with their gender identities.
House Bill 15 is now law in the state of Texas.
A Gallup poll released earlier this month shows that 69% of Americans say transgender athletes should only be allowed to compete on sports teams that match their birth gender. That's up 7 points from just 2 years ago.
I had just laid out how complicated this issue is. I had just laid out why it's complicated.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration moving forward with their proposal to make it illegal for schools to have a one-size-fits-all policy that bans transgender students from participating on teams consistent with their gender identity. In Washington, I'm Janae Bowens.
Title IX is not the only anniversary this week. A look back at BWI Airport's lasting legacy. But first, the World Health Organization estimates that 1 in 10 women suffer from endometriosis. How some doctors are missing the diagnosis.
And we're seeing temperatures that are mild right now, a little bit muggy, but at least that sun is shining on that Bromo Seltzer Tower with the clock that is correct. I love it. Back with your full forecast coming up on Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition.
All right, we're looking on up for the weather today. Meteorologist Justin Chambers has our update, and I think we're going to be in store for some sunshine, at least in the earlier part of our day.
Yeah, absolutely, Taylor. I mean, this is what we woke up to, and we continue to see right now from our Towson camera. We've got that sun that is out there, a bit on the muggy side, and our temperatures are going to be warmer today, so it will definitely feel like summer. Remember, this is the first weekend of summer. We had that solstice that happened on Wednesday, even though it was a lot cooler than average, but now we're going to see those numbers near or even above average by the afternoon. We're already to 75 when we're not even at 9 o'clock in the morning. So that dew point at 66 degrees. So we always talk about those dew points in the 60s and 70s. That's when we have the very muggy conditions, and that's what's going to be taking place today. Now, our HD radar is very quiet. Not much happening at all. It looks like it's not even moving, but when you zoom out, you can actually see what's going on with this thunderstorm complex here just to the east of Chicago down through Indianapolis. So that's our next weather maker. That's going to be tracking into our area by the time we head into tomorrow afternoon. And we could see some strong to severe thunderstorms as well. As for today, let's talk about that. Here's our hourly future scan. You can see just a couple of clouds rolling in, and then later this afternoon, those clouds will start to build. Notice on this model, doesn't really show a lot of the orange or the greens or the reds, but we will have that potential for some of those pop-up thunderstorms, especially once we get daytime heating. Then, as we head toward tomorrow, we have that severe weather risk, and you can see all of us here in that yellow area. That is a slight risk, which is 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. So Storm Prediction Center is saying that we've got a pretty good chance of seeing some of these storms that could get into that strong to severe category. So we're monitoring for that potential weather alert day for tomorrow. Upper 70s next hour on your forecast. If you want to get out there and play some golf, stay hydrated today. And remember, if you get any of those daytime thunderstorms, no matter what you're doing outside, make sure to try to get indoors. Hopefully we can get the game in this afternoon. Shouldn't be an issue, but maybe some delays if we get any rumbles of thunder as we get later into the afternoon at Camden Yards. O's taking on the Mariners again, the rubber match today, and then they've got the Reds coming in town. The red hot Reds are coming in town tomorrow, so we'll see what happens with that. Mid to upper 80s and even a few lower 90s across central Maryland. Notice the average is 87, so most of us are going to be near or even above that number. Not only here, but up and down the 95 corridor with 80s in Philly, 90 in Baltimore, 87 in D.C., and 78 down the ocean there in Ocean City. So here's what's going on with our future scan. Notice this yellow line. That's a trough of low pressure that's still kind of hanging around. So we still have that moisture. You get the daytime heating. Very easy to get a couple of those pop-up thunderstorms into the afternoon today. Now, tomorrow we'll have some showers in the morning time, but watch what happens as this cold front gets closer to us, especially late tomorrow afternoon into the evening time. Right there, you can see that is going to be the best chance of some of those stronger storms into your Mondays. So probably be shifting into that weather alert mode on Monday. The potential weather alert day right now is what we're looking at. We'll be cooler on Tuesday, even though we carry some showers and our numbers into the lower 80s, but finally drier as we head toward the end of next week or this upcoming week. And remember, Taylor, next weekend is 4th of July weekend, and I'm going to do your 10-day forecast in just a few minutes to show you what it's looking like.
All right, sounds good. Little Independence Day ahead. The World Health Organization estimates at least 1 in 10 women suffer from endometriosis. It can cause debilitating pain, but many doctors dismiss the diagnosis or miss it altogether. Spotlight on America, Angelica Thornton investigates.
I started having some pretty bad pains in my lower stomach.
Another day, another pivot for Faye Limbaugh.
I am sitting in the only position that's comfortable.
Faye is sharing her journey on TikTok. She believes she has endometriosis, a disease where tissue similar to the lining of the uterus grows outside the uterus. But more than a decade after the pain started, she still doesn't have a diagnosis.
All I know is that I hurt, and I hurt all the time. I am actually starting to hurt while I'm talking to you.
It takes a huge toll mentally.
Natalie Stack spent years searching for answers.
There was no calculation of when the pain would stop. How long is this pain flare going to last?
She felt isolated, lonely, and hopeless. Then on a trip to Italy with her husband, she met someone from the UK who'd been in her shoes.
She gave me some really targeted advice to stop with the incremental conservative approach of the physicians I was seeing and to go to this Facebook group called Nancy's Nook.
Nobody should have to live like that.
Nurse Nancy Peterson is a pioneer in endometriosis advocacy. Hundreds of thousands of women around the world have used her Facebook group. Learning why endometriosis doesn't show up in most ultrasounds, CT scans, and MRIs.
People just don't believe what women are going through.
Every patient I see has been ignored by somebody.
Dr. Nicholas Fogelson is an endometriosis specialist in Portland, Oregon, but he sees patients from around the world who've been misdiagnosed, told their pain is normal, or even worse, doctors blame their symptoms on mental illness. He calls that medical gaslighting.
They are unable to say, I don't know what's wrong with you. I believe you. Clearly your life shouldn't be like this, but I don't know what it is.
I think women's pain has been normalized for way too long.
Dr. Melissa Pendergrass says it takes an average of 6 to 12 years for a diagnosis. By then, the disease has often spread, and patients are suffering 24/7.
Pain with bowel movements, pain with emptying their bladder, having intercourse. So I think the pain is not just take an ibuprofen and suck it up. It's completely life-altering for a lot of women.
Dr. Pendergrass is the one who finally believed Natalie. She immediately ordered a colonoscopy and scheduled her for laparoscopic surgery, the only way to confirm endometriosis and remove it. Natalie had stage 4 deep infiltrating endometriosis, and that colonoscopy that a gastroenterologist told her wasn't needed revealed she also has Crohn's disease.
That was the last time I ever spoke to him.
If your doctor says it's nothing, and you still have the symptoms, it's not nothing. You need to find another doctor.
Have you considered at all that you might be faking? What? No.
On TikTok, Faye Limbaugh uses humor to peel back the curtain on endometriosis. In real life, she's still fighting for a referral to a gynecologist.
I had to leave another voicemail this morning, which was unbearably frustrating.
Unable to shake off the pain, unwilling to be ignored.
This is just kind of how it goes sometimes.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Angelica Thornton.
All right, take a look at this. BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport commemorating 73 years of service. Originally dubbed Friendship International Airport back in 1950, but renamed after Thurgood Marshall in 2005. Today, it is one of the busiest airports in America, servicing just under 10 million travelers each year. And the movies will stream on. The Directors of Guild of America finally reached a deal that approves new contracts with the movie studios. The 3-year deal was approved Friday night by an 87% of its membership. It secures wage increases along with global streaming residuals and diversity and creative rights. It bans the use of live ammunition on a set, a move that follows the 2021 deaths on the movie set of Rust. All right, here's a look back at today's Steals and Deals.
The following segment is sponsored by Naki.
I found this neat little dry pack that I think you're really gonna like. This is Yugo Wear. There's so many uses. You could take this if you're going to the beach, if you're going to the pool, if you're going to a splash pad with the kids. I'm gonna show you how this works. It's waterproof, so you unzip it, and I'm gonna add my phone. It's got all my pictures, pretty much my life. You can also add a wallet, and then I'm gonna add my keys, okay? You zip it, and when you zip it, you know, it's securely into place. Nothing is coming in and out. All right, this is my phone. It's got my life on it. So here you go. It's in the water. We're going to splash it. I'm holding it down. But if I let it go, it floats. So you could take it into the water. It's not going to sink. It's going to float. All right, I want to show you this too. Look right there. You can still use the camera in this mode. And there you go. You can take pictures under the water, in the water. Your phone is safe. All right, so let's unzip it. You got to put some muscle into unzipping it because it fastens securely into place. And everything is safe in here. The other thing I like about this, you could even take this to games because it's the appropriate size for the stadium. You could use this if you're biking. We're offering right now 30% off Yugo Wear. There's so much you can do with this, not just the water if you're a commuter. So take advantage of the 30% off Yugo Wear. Head to asadeals.com for the exclusive offer.